Let me ask, this occurs to me to ask this right now, and I have a feeling someone's watching that it's going to apply to, because miscarriages are kind of common. A lot of people,
Yeah.
Doreen and I had a miscarriage, or Doreen had the miscarriage when, so there was one child we have that we now believe is in heaven, because I started understanding that when I read your first book. Can you try and talk to someone about what happens? They're brand new, they're Christians, or maybe they weren't even believers yet, and suddenly they had a miscarriage, and they had barely gotten a week or two along until they found out, and then it was gone. Something happened. Does God really take that almost
It's
nothingness?
something, you know why it's something, Steve? Because the spirit is there.
Okay,
So you can't say, no
yeah,
matter how small it is, at the time of conception, when he says, at that moment, I knit you together in your mother's womb, that's what he knit together, that dot of flesh and your spirit. At any time after that, anytime, I've seen little babies this big. At any time after that, should that child pass and not make it all the way through, he definitely is going to come and get that little baby. It's still a baby.
yeah.
And you will get that baby given to you when you get to heaven.
Do you think, there's been people that have had multiple miscarriages, and but I think beyond that, that one's easier to grasp. But beyond that, must be people who have had miscarriages that it was so early on they don't even realize they had a miscarriage. It would be that, right? And
Yeah,
would they arrive in heaven and suddenly realize I've got children?
absolutely. I happen to know that for a fact that that is what happens. Because when life begins, it is a life. And whoever's carrying that child, that is their child. And God's not going to ignore it. He's the one who knit it together. He took that little child's spiritual body,
Yeah.
he took it from himself and knit it to the mother's womb. And then it became a real person. That was a real person. That was that baby. And whether it's a week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, however long that is, if that baby, for whatever reason, does not make it to full term, then yes, that baby will be waiting for them in heaven.
Well, I have a question to ask. Kim Clement wrote a song. It was a post 9/11. It was about the loss of life in the Twin Towers,
Mm-hmm.
and especially the children that were taken. And one of the song lyrics goes, he's singing about the children that were lost, and has a line that says, "I will give them back to you." I never asked him about it. I don't know what that means. Would God ever take a lost child and re-give it to this parent in the form of the next birth, anything like that?
How hard have you been thinking, Steve?
I don't
That
know.
one is absolutely correct.
Is it?
Absolutely correct. And I'm not the only one who knew that. There's somebody that he needs on this earth that is so important. He will sometimes actually take it and then put it back in himself. And then he will resend it at a different time, send it back to the same people. Yes, he does. Every now and then he does that. I know Kim Clement actually did know that himself. He knew that.
Oh, wow. Wow. Wow.
And I
Okay.
know for sure, but he had me tell somebody that. And then later they
Really?
actually had, yeah. I said, God's not done with that child. So he wants you to know that he has taken it back into himself. She wasn't very far along at all. And that he will send the baby back because he needs that baby. He needs you to be the parent. He needs that baby here. And so it was pretty
You,
exciting.
can I drill down a little bit on that? Doreen and I were talking about something else, and we were about embracing the love of God. And I kept saying, God doesn't just want to embrace you; He needs to. And for some reason, I knew that God needed to do that, and it had to do with God's love and who He is. So, what do you mean by He needs this person? I mean, He can create anybody at any time. How can you try and define why does He need this
He
child?
knows from, you have to understand, he's been carrying us before the earth was made.
Yeah,
Before this earth you're sitting on or you're living on was made, you were already in God, in Him. You were in Him. We've all been from the beginning to the end because God has been there and we were with Him We were never not in him. And he's still sending them to the earth to be born on the earth. And he has got his own timeline and the things he has mapped out himself that will happen. And there are people he chose sometimes in the lineage and said, I'll put this one here. I'll put this one here 20 years later. This will be here 30 years later. This is how he plans. He plans things. And so if the enemy, for however reason or whatever happens, tries to stop that from happening, at the time of when Moses was born, they were trying, Pharaoh knew
Right.
that he was going to be born, so he was starting to get rid of them. He didn't want that person to be born, but that person was born, correct? Moses was born. And even the same thing with Christ, they had to go hide. Why? Because they were trying to eliminate all of them because somebody special was coming. The enemy knew it. That would be the devil, knew that they were coming. And so he tried to stop that or prevent that from happening. And yet Christ was born. Christ did come to the earth and was living so that there are other people that he has on purpose chosen, and he will not choose another. He just will not choose another.
Wow. And
I've had, of course, people who don't know what they're saying say to me, well, I believe God chose 7 men before he chose you, but they said no. That's totally incorrect. That is incorrect, people. I was chosen out of a long line, 7 different generations of people. I was chosen out of that family line to be here for the very purpose that I'm doing now. He chose me to do it. And yeah, there's 15 kids in our family. I was chosen for certain reasons out of that generation of people. And he wouldn't pick someone else. And he told me he wouldn't pick someone else. So
oops, hold on.
Oh.
That's the second time I've done that on the air. Let it be. See if I can get it. I was going to ask.
There's sometimes he just will not pick someone else.
Yeah, I like that. And by the way, I mean, when someone was probably trying to make you feel good by saying he offered it to 7 men first, and then whatever they thought they were accomplishing. But even if that were somehow true, that would be a picture of a very unpowerful God who tried 7 times and failed.
Yeah, you're right. 7 times.
So, anyway, okay.